Okay, Hare Krishna. So, do you all remember where we were in our reading? We are reading 5th chapter of the book Elevation to Krishna Consciousness. And so far, so this chapter is what about knowing Krishna's energies. So far, we were reading about a few things that Lord Brahma said, then a few things, other energies that have been revealed by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 10, where Krishna says, I am the heat in the fire, I am the light in the sun. So he's expressing all about what Krishna's energies are. And then we went on to read about Srimati Radharani. If you all remember, we stopped there. We read a little bit about Srimati Radharani, who is Srimati Radharani? Srimati Radharani is one of the energies of Lord Krishna. She's non-different from Lord Krishna because Radharani is the pleasure potency of Lord Krishna. So we were reading into this chapter about Srimati Radharani. So we'll continue reading from here. This was just a recap a little bit. So before we get into our today's reading, what do? We say our pranam mantras and invoke the blessings from our Guru. Okay, so you all can unmute yourself and we can say the pranam mantras together. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so before we get into our today's reading, I have a question for Nihal. Okay, Nihal, are you following what we are reading? Are you aware which section we are in the book and what we have read so far? Have you been following along? Nihal? Nihal, are you connected with your audio? Okay, looks like Nihal,
connected.
Yeah, looks like his audio is not connected. Let me send him a quick text and see if he is able to connect to his audio, because he would be just sitting and listening, nothing. Okay. I'm doubtful that he is getting to see the message that I sent him. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hopefully, somebody notices there on his end and they can get him connected to the audio. Okay, so we'll get into our reading. So Manhar, if you're following on the book, we are on the page 67 on the book, and on the screen here, as you see, that's text at the beginning of page 67. Okay.
On the PDF, it's different, but on the book, it's page 60.
Yes, yeah. PDF it is 76, and if you have the book, then it will be 67 on your book. Okay. Okay. So we'll start from here. the Goswamis, disciples of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most perfect and highly elevated beings, never said, "I have seen Krishna." Instead, they constantly cried, "Where is Radharani? Where is Lalita? Where is Vishakha and other damsels of Vrindavan?" In their nature, in their mature stage of love of Godhead, they were living in Vrindavan. The Goswamis would also cry, "Radharani, where are you? Where are your associates? Where are you, O son of Nanda Maharaj? Where are you all?" In that way, they were searching after Krishna. And they never at any time said, "Last night I saw Krishna dancing with the gopis." Such claims are not made by the mature devotees, but one who takes things very cheaply. Some people think that Radha and Krishna are so cheap that they may see them every night, but this is not the teachings of Goswamis, who were always in search after Krishna, crying, "Where are you? Where are you, Radharani? Where are you, Krishna? And where are you, Yamuna?" In that way, throughout the whole tract of Vrindavan, the Goswamis were crying and searching after Radha and Krishna like madmen. So see, here we are seeing the mentality of something called Sahajya. That's the word Prabhupada used when, when in previous era where Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj, who is Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. When he was there, and Bhakti Vinod Thakur, one of our previous acharyas in our line, at that time, this was very prevalent that people would take it so, cheaply, the dealings of Radha and Krishna, and they would say, "Oh, they would act like gopis," and they would say that, "Oh, they have seen gopis," and they talk to them, and they would, claim of reciprocating with them. But here Prabhupada is teaching us that these are very, very, very immature kind of feelings one could have for Krishna and Radha, because they are not so cheap. How can we, if we are not purified in our heart, how is it possible even to get the glimpse of the Supreme Lord when we have so impure hearts, right? So following in the footsteps of our acharyas, they have taught first what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as first thing in his Sikshastakam, what does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? Cheto Darpanamarjanam. That Cheto Darpanam means cleansing my heart. Marjanam means cleansing. Until and unless we are purified in our hearts, until and unless our anarthas are gone, there is no possibility of associating with Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna. So we have to follow in the footprints of the Goswamis and search out for Radha and Krishna in this way. So what are they teaching us? That we follow our regulative principles, we engage ourselves in the devotional service of the Lord, and gradually we'll see that our hearts get purified. So that's how we follow in the footsteps. Vrindavan is in our heart, and we must search for him there. There is a process recommended by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the process of worshipping in separation. Feeling separation from Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would throw himself into the sea. Sometimes he would leave his room in the dead of the night and disappear. No one would know where he had gone, but all the while he was searching after Krishna. Thus, it is not that we to enjoy the loving exchange of Krishna and Radha like a speculator at some sports show. We must feel separation from them. The most we feel separation, the more we understand that we are advancing. So here Prabhupada is teaching us what is Prabhupada expressing? That we should feel so much separation from Krishna that we should cry like a mother, a child is crying for their mother, right? So much so that then Krishna, then that invokes that longing for Krishna in us. And because of that longing, hearts will get purified. And that's how this gradual. So there is a process of following, into the footsteps of what the teachings are from our acharyas. The more we feel separation, the more we understand that we are advancing. With our material senses, we cannot see Krishna, nor can we ever hear his name. We can begin to perceive him when we advance in devotional service. That devotional service begins with the tongue, not with the legs, eyes, and ears. The tongue must utilize chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and take Krishna Prasad. Thus, the tongue and a dual function by utilizing it in a way we realize Krishna. We cannot see Krishna with our material eyes, nor hear him with the material ears, nor touch him with our hands, but we engage in our tongue in his service. He will reveal himself saying, here I am. This chanting of Hare Krishna extinguishes the blazing fire of material nature. This is also the purport of the following prayer to our spiritual master. Okay, so question for all of us here. Do we all chant some number of rounds every day? Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Very good, Manar. How many rounds do you chant?
4 and on Ekadashi, 5, and every year 1 round grows.
Very nice. And do you do that consistently every single day?
Yeah.
Very nice. Very happy to hear that. See, this is what Prabhupada is saying, that, unless we are purified, what does it mean by purifying in our heart? What does it mean to have pure hearts? That means having pure heart means having, first of all, having no material desires. Because as long as we are, give me 1 minute, I'm going to change my spot here so that there is less voice from the background. Okay, so I think this will be good. Okay, unless we are purified from what? From what are the contaminations when we say purified? Contaminations are these desires, that material desires that we have. So what happens is, as long as we have these material desires, our attention, our consciousness will be engaged in that. And we have seen that, we have read in depth how when we are engaged into this, achieving something that is temporary, that is material, that is just a hard labor. Because by the influence of the time, all that will be it will be taken away from us, right? Because it's the temporary nature. And also we would be doing something wrong or something that is inappropriate to achieve all this. So, Prabhupada is explaining here in all these chapters how to, first of all, purify our hearts by engaging in Krishna consciousness, by engaging into the regulative principles, living simple lives, and then following into the footsteps, chanting the holy name, taking Krishna Prasad, right? All this will gradually do what? Detach us from this material attachments that we have created for ourselves here. As long as we have that, it is bound, we are bound to be here in this material world because of our consciousness is there. We are bound to be here. And then because of that binding here, we are also bound with what? With the laws of our karma. Because whatever we would do, either good or bad, we will have to keep coming back to get those results. And in order to free ourselves, here's the process that Prabhupada has explained to us. That is given to us by who? None other than Lord Shri Krishna himself in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he established all this, he came to give us the Yoga Dharma, the chanting of the holy name, following the principles, living a pure and simple life, and finally purifying ourselves and going back to Godhead. Okay. So in this prayer, what do we say? When do we say this prayer? Samsara Dava, you all know this prayer. We say this at the Manga, we sing this prayer at the Mangal Aarti in the first thing in the morning at 4:30 in any temple. If you have visited the Mangal Aarti in the temple. So what does the prayer say? Samsara Dava Nalalita Loka Tranaya Kadunya Dhananganatvam Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam. The spiritual master is receiving the benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as the cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it. So the spiritual master extinguishes the blazing fire of the material existence. I offer my respectful obeisances onto the lotus feet of my spiritual master. This is from the Guru Ashtakam, verse number 1. Okay, so what are these? What is this blazing fire? These are the material desires that we have.
Material desires.
Yes, correct. Very good, Govinda. So as long as we have that, we are bound, like I said, like we are bound to be here in this material, correct? And then, with our, the mercy of our spiritual master, who does what? Who extinguishes this blazing fire. That means, what does it mean by extinguishes the blazing fire? That means he opens our eyes. He gives us the knowledge that these are the temporary things. These are whatever, we are running behind. This is a hard struggle, right? The second chapter we read in the same book, hard struggle for the happiness, this material temporary happiness that we go behind. So what is that? Prabhupada is actually opening our eyes to what we are actually, trying to achieve in this life. How we are engaged in this, the temporary aspect. And he's explaining that now that you have got this human form, you should discriminate what is the right thing and what is the wrong thing. Because that facility of understanding the right, discriminating between the right and the wrong thing is given in this human body. So with their mercy, of our spiritual master, we come to the enlightened consciousness. And that's why in the first thing that we offer is our obeisances onto the spiritual master's lotus feet. Okay. All right. So who would like to read a little bit? This material world is often compared to from here. Yes, go ahead, Manohar.
Okay, this material world is often compared to a forest fire which takes place automatically. No one wants a forest fire, but there is often lightning or carelessness or friction or whatever, and the fire immediately takes place. Similarly, this material world is beset with a blazing fire of problems. Everyone wants to live here peacefully, but situations develop in such a way that this is not possible for anyone. We struggle very hard to adjust things in so many ways, but nature's laws are so cruel and dangerous that in spite of our hopes and plans, the blazing fire of the problems of material existence continues. In this scenario, for instance, we have attempted to put out the fire of war, but it has not been possible. There was a First World War, and then a League of Nations were formed to try to prevent a second. But despite their attempts, a second took place. Now a United Nations has been constructed to help end the war. But wars going on in Vietnam, in Egypt, in Pakistan, and other places. No one wants third world war, but it seems imminent. It is not possible to send a fire brigade, a few men with buckets of water, to extinguish a great fire in the forest. To extinguish a roaring forest fire, there must be volumes of water. In other words, there must be an arrangement that is beyond human endeavor. When there's a merciful cloud over the forest fire, the cloud bursts, rain pours down in the torrents, and the blazing fires immediately extinguished. As a cloud collects water from the ocean, similarly the spiritual master collects water from Krishna's ocean of mercy and pours it over the blazing fire of material existence. Thus, one who bestows or distributes the merciful rain of Krishna is called the spiritual master or guru.
Very nice. Thank you, Manohar. So what is this paragraph reading here? It is saying that, see, if we think that we are all peaceful, if we think that, okay, we are all happy, we have everything that we need, then why does this wars happen? Right? Why are there so big wars that we've even in our own eras we are seeing here, but even before in the histories we have learned about these wars, right? World Wars 1, 2, and then the big war that happened during the era of Mahabharata. You all remember it was one of the biggest. So many people died. So if we think that we are happy, if we think we have everything, we are satisfied with what it is, then why do we see so much unrest, so much inequality around us? By God's grace, we have everything in the home, but there are people who don't get enough food to eat. And what about animals? They have been, that the entire class of animals is so much exploited, right? So there's definitely something that we are not seeing in the right perspective. If we think everything is good, if we think everything, we are all happy. So that's what Prabhupada is pointing here. That this, so long as we have these contaminations in us, greed, right? Even though we have everything, whatever we need to live peacefully, by nature, Krishna provides everything, whatever they need to live peacefully. But because there is greed, which is never ending, we just want more. We want more and we want more. So this type of consciousness where we are running behind something that is temporary, we have these contaminations in us until and unless, we are purified from such consciousness, until and unless this fire of, this great material anguish is extinguished with the mercy of our spiritual master. There is no way we can get free from this, right? And thus, one who bestows or distributes this merciful rain, just like, when rain comes, all the fire is gone. So that's how, when the knowledge that given to us by spiritual master, it opens our eyes. It's like he's pouring the rain, and that fire extinguishes. And he is called a guru. That's what it is reading. Okay, let's read a little further. Jyotsna, would you like to read in the Vedic literature?
Yes. In the Vedic literatures, it is said that in order to understand the transcendental science of Krishna consciousness, we must try to acquire knowledge of how to extinguish this blazing fire of problems. Scientists Scientists, philosophers, and other educated men are trying very hard to extinguish it, but the result seems to be bigger and bigger bombs. The karmis, or fruitive laborers, are working with heart and soul day and night to extinguish this fire or to diminish the miserable condition of material existence by dint of hard labor. The jnanis or philosophers are also trying, but they have become disgusted and so proclaim this world is false. Thinking this, they try to merge into the existence of the Supreme and in this way extinguish the fire. This is like the jackal who tries to pick some grapes from a vine and when he fails says, "Oh, these grapes are sour anyway." The yogis or meditators try to gain superior mystic power by becoming greater than the greatest, smaller than the smallest, lighter than the lightest, and heavier than the heaviest. But this is just so much child's play. With any material body, whether it be great or small, light or heavy, the problems of material existence still remain. In this way, one may progress from one stage to another, coming from the stage of karmi or fruitive laborer to the stage of jnani or philosopher to the stage of yogi or meditator, but in any case, one finally has to come to the platform of bhakti or devotional service. This is the real evolutionary process. It is indicated in Bhagavad Gita in this way.
Very nice. Thank you, Jyotsna. Four, four, four aspects here Prabhupada has put. First, karmis. What does karmi mean? What does karma means? Karma means whatever action we perform, yes, we will get a reaction, right? We will get equal and opposite reaction. That is also one of the laws of physics, right? We've all learned a little bit of physics so far in our school, right? So same way, the law of karma, the law of nature is that whatever we are doing, it is going to come back to us some way or the other way, right? Over the period of time. And so let's try to mute. Okay. So what happens in that mentality of a karmi? They want the results of their fruits of actions. They want something in return. And that's how they are bound by those results. Again, they're bound by the karma. Then Prabhupada is explaining about jnanis, a stage little above the karmis. They have knowledge, so that's why they understand that fruit of, just getting entangled into this philosophy of, of fruitive, gaining something back from our karmas may not be the right thing. They have some, they have knowledge. They are jnanis. But again, what happens to those jnanis? They want to now end their suffering. And how they want to end their suffering? They realize that this is material world. We are bound here. because we are, looking for the fruits of our own actions, and that's how, they have to keep coming back again and again. And as long as they're coming back again and again, birth, old age, disease, death, birth, old age, disease, death, same thing over and over, they are going through a suffering. Okay, so they realize that they are going through the suffering and they want to end that suffering. And how they want to end that suffering? By merging into the Lord, by becoming one with the Lord. But where is the question of reciprocation of love when they become one with the Lord? Supreme Lord is so merciful, he will allow that. They can merge in the Brahma Jyoti of the Lord. But where is the question of loving reciprocation with them, with the Lord? No, right? So merging the Lord is not the end of the suffering. In fact, it is, engaging ourselves into the service of the Lord in loving reciprocation, reciprocating that love, bond of love with Him. Okay. So, but between that, Prabhupada is also explaining what? After Jnanis, he's explaining the consciousness of a yogi. Yogi, so what does yogi does? Yogi does the penances, the austerities, and what do they attain by that? They attain siddhis. They attain, like, there are 8 kinds of siddhis, right? Do we all know? Mahima, Laghima, and so there are like these kind of 8 things that they could and they could achieve. And what are those? Like, they can become lighter than the air, they can become heavier than like any object in the world, or they can become as small as like atom, and they can become as huge as, like, we can't like imagine, even they can become as huge as this, anything biggest in this world. And then they can become or they can make themselves similar, like bodies of themselves, like into multiple. They can separate that their bodies into similar to what they want to look like. So these are all what? These are all siddhis. But what will happen even after attaining to all those siddhis, so to say? What will happen? Is there a question again of having that loving reciprocation with the Lord? Would that please Lord? Having a siddhis and all that, would that please Lord? Yes, it could all be engaged in the service of Lord, just like who? Hanuman did, right? Hanuman ji became very small when he was going through that river, right? When through the sea, when he jumped through the sea to go look for Mother Sita across from this end to Lanka. What happened? There was one big demoness that she wanted to stop Hanumanji from going there. So he entered her mouth, right? So he became very small, tiny, and then came back, right? So yes, those siddhis can be used in the service of the Lord, but that doesn't mean that that should be our only goal to attain the siddhis, right? Because those, just attaining by those siddhis would not please the Lord. So that is a yogi, right? But then until and unless person comes to the consciousness of performing the devotional service, having, understanding our position and understanding the position of the Lord, and engaging ourselves into the service of the Lord. Understanding our position means a part and parcel of the Lord, who is meant to serve the Lord, who is meant to give pleasure to the Lord. Until we come to that platform of understanding, there is no question of having that pure bond of love with the Lord. So that is the platform of bhakti. And what is Bhagavad Gita saying us? Bahunam janmanam ante. So we have to listen, we have to memorize this shloka. It is very, very important shloka, one of the important shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. I'll explain you every single word of it, okay? Bahunam janmanam ante. That means, Bahunam means after many, many. Bahu means many. Bahunam means after many, many. What after many, many? Janmanam, the births. Janma means birth. Ante, at the end of many, many births. Right? Simple to understand. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Jnanavan means one who is in knowledge. Mam prapadyante. Mam means to me. Prapadyante means to surrender. So after many, many lifetimes, at the end of many, many lifetimes, person who is in true knowledge will surrender on to me. That's what Lord Krishna is saying in these first two lines. And surrender in what mode? Vasudeva sarvam iti. Vasudeva, Lord Shri Krishna, he's everything. Sarvam iti. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Such a Mahatma. That person, Lord Krishna is calling as Mahatma. See, Mahatma doesn't mean that person has like, they become Babajis, or, they have like these beards and they have like, certain type of dresses that they will wear. No, that's not Mahatma. Mahatma, who is Mahatma? According to Lord Sri Krishna himself, he's saying that person who has surrendered onto me in the mood understanding that Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Vasudeva is everything. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Durlabha means that it is very rare. But Sudurlabha means it is very, very rare. Okay. Let's try to mute. Okay. Okay. So in this verse we are reading Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Okay, can we all unmute ourselves and say this together, all of us, please? Let's say this verse together. Okay. Okay, can we start?
Yes.
Go ahead. Bahunam Janmanamante.
Bahunam
Can we all?
janmanamante
Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate
Jnanavan mam prapadyate
Vasudeva Sarvamiti
Vasudeva sarvamiti
Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha.
Tam Mahatma Sudurlabha.
You all understand the meaning of this verse? It is very simple to understand, but it is very, very strong and very, very important to understand this verse, right? That if we understand just the fact who Lord Krishna is, the Supreme Person, and we understand our position that we are part and parcel, we are meant to give him service. That's why he's saying Vasudeva Sarvamiti, this entire universe, everywhere he's in every atom, and he's everything, and we are just part and parcel of him, and we are meant to have that bond of love with him. Such an understanding, that person Lord Krishna is calling is a Mahatma, and it is very rare. Okay, so see the translation. Let's read the translation. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes, and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Understand? Very nice and simple verse, but it's very, very important and strong message that Lord Krishna is giving us in this. Okay? Right, so let's read it. Yes, go ahead, Govinda. Surrender to Krishna from there. Go ahead, Govinda, you're reading.
Where?
Here, from surrender to Krishna.
Surrender to Krishna is the point that is the aim of life of the bhaktas. Bhaktas. The intelligent man of the world takes to the stage immediately. Therefore, Krishna says that they are wise men. If after many births one has to come to the point of surrender, when why not immediately? The blazing fire of the material nature is
Supervised
supervised
by
by
Durga.
Durga. Often she is portrayed with weapons in her hands. She has 10 hands, and each holds a different type of weapon. This indicates that she is ruling all 10 directions of the universe.
Very nice.
She is one famous picture of a demon struggling with a lion, and the goddess Durga is pulling the demon hair and pushing her titan against his chest. If we study this picture, we can determine that we are the demon, and that is trident is the threefold miseries of material existence, from which we are always suffering. Can you read more? You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. Thanks, Govinda. Thank you so much. Right. So here what Prabhupada is explaining us, that Durga Devi, who is Durga Devi? She is also a devotee of the Lord. But what is her duty? Her duty is to punish the demons.
Punish the demons.
Yes, and what is that punishment actually? The punishment is that
we like the demon, and Durga is the trident as the three
right.
miseries.
Yes, so the miseries that we experience in this world, threefold miseries, Adi Bhautik, Adhyatmik, and Adi Daivik. These threefold miseries is her duty. And what is her intention by giving these miseries? That's so that person realizes that this material world is the temporary place. So the person realizes that he's not meant to be here forever. He's not meant to be, comforting himself here in this material world, in this so-called pleasures or enjoyments that he's experiencing. But what is the intent? That so the person gets, that realization, and he turns himself to the devotional service of the Lord. That is her duty. It is like a mother, right? Mother wants us to do the right thing. That's how. So there is Durga, we have to understand that Durga Devi is just like as a mother trying to correct a child, right? By what? Sometimes mother would punish us, right? If we do something wrong, she would punish us, right? So that's how she's also a devotee of the Lord. She's trying to correct us from our consciousness. So some of the miseries are
I have a question, Mataji. That's
yes.
why Durga is Maya?
Yes, Durga Devi is Maya. And we get eluded by this energies of Maya here, right, in this material world, and we we act like puppets in her hand. And then what happens at the end, with when we are engaged into this material world, into this, so-called pleasures and enjoyments, what happens? She inflicts the miseries on us at the end. And that's how we come to the realization. Yes, Durga Devi is Maya, the energy of the external energy of the Lord.
Thank you,
And the
Mataji.
same energy in the spiritual world is Subhadra Devi, who is engaged in bringing the devotees closer to the Lord. Here in material world, also her duty is the same thing, bringing the jivas back to the lotus feet of the Lord. Okay, so here she acts as Bhadra, that means Durga Devi, and there she acts as Subhadra, the Yoga Maya. Here she acts as Maya, and in spiritual world she acts as Yoga Maya. Some miseries are inflicted by other living entities. Some are inflicted by the natural disasters, and some are inflicted by the mind and body. So these three types of threefold miseries, right? In one way or another, we are always struggling against these three types of miseries. No one is in the material creation can say that he is free from them. The trident of this material nature is pressed against everyone's chest, and because of this, pure happiness within the material world is not possible. We may try to satisfy Mother Durga by worshipping her or by giving her some bribe, but Durga Devi is not so easily bribed. Because why is Durga Devi not so easily bribed? Because why? Because she's like a mother. She's Mother Nature. She wants us to go back to Godhead. So the best thing is that we engage in the service of the Lord. We understand our position. And how do we understand position of ours, and how do we understand position of Krishna? By reading this, right? What are we reading this chapter today? We are reading the chapter about energies of Krishna, right? So slowly, we are coming to know the Lord, where Krishna in 10th chapter, he's saying he's everything, he's the cause of all causes, right? He's explaining that he's how in every aspect of this universe he is there, his presence is there. Then we learned about Srimati Radharani. Then we are learning about Mother Durga here.
Radharani is the energy of Krishna.
Yes, energy of the Lord. And so similarly, Durga Devi is also the energy of the Lord, who is Maya in this world, right? So we are trying to understand Krishna, right? And with this knowledge, if we come to the realization, the supremacy of the Lord and our position as a tiny part and parcel of the Lord, then we engage ourselves into the service of the Lord. Okay, we are on page 82. Let's see how big the chapter. We still have, I think, about 2 more pages. So what we will do is, instead of so we'll do one thing here. Instead of rushing, we'll just read one more paragraph from here, and then we'll see if anybody has any questions. Okay, so let's just finish this page number 81. Okay, yes, Govinda, go ahead. Therefore we should
Therefore, we should know that our army of life should be the understand of the spiritual personality of Godhead. We should make every agreement, social,
arrangement,
political, and physical, or religion, but the aim should be in the approach of the spiritual person. In the Vedas, it is stated that the learned, advanced people, the demigods of the creation simply looks to the lotus feet of Krishna.
Right.
The aim should be the same with human. What is this word?
Same with the human civilization.
Because of looking the Krishna lotus feet and religion source of protection and endurance will fail. It is not possible to make progress as long as our desires are
Anchored.
anchored in the material world. In the regard, there is a story of a bride-groom party who had to go to the bride house down the river. It was settled that they would start at night by boat and reach to the destination early in the morning. Therefore, at night, after supper, the jubilant party got aboard upper boat, made themselves comfortable for the ensued the boatman to start.
Okay, let me read this. Since all the members of the party were seated comfortably, and since the river breezes were very pleasant, they slept sound that night. In the morning, they all got up early, but to their astonishment, they saw the boat had not moved even an inch towards the destination, even though the boatmen had rowed vigorously all night long. Finally, after inquiring, they found that despite of the boatmen rowing the boat did not move because they failed to raise the anchor. The marriage ceremony was thus spoiled because of the foolish mistake. Okay, so what happened? Everybody was seated on the boat, and the boatman was rowing the boat. All night he was rowing the boat. And what happened? Did they reach the destination in the morning? No. Because why? They had forgot to unrope the boat from that anchor. You know what is that anchor that ties the boat to the shore? Right? That rope was not untied. It was already there, even though the boatman is rowing the boat so hard, so hard. Did the boat move? No. So same thing is happening with us. Until and unless we have this material desires, no matter what we do, we are going to be entangled here in this material. And so that's why we have to make an endeavor to understand the Supreme Lord. We have to understand his position. We have to understand who we really are. And we have to purify and we have to make that endeavor. That is untying the rope or untying the knots of our hearts of attachment. Okay, so we'll pause here. We'll continue next week and we'll finish this chapter and then go on to the next chapter. Okay, so we'll stop here today. Let's say our pranam mantras. Okay. Mancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo
Namo Namaha.
Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, we'll see you again next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Shira
Krishna.
Mataji ki jai.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare